Welcome to Boring History, where the past whispers instead of shouts. Today, we step into the world of the ancient Maya, a civilization that thrived over 4,000 years ago, leaving behind mysteries of love, survival, and secrets etched in stone. The everyday life and social order of the ancient Maya was deeply layered, complex, and reflected a civilization that valued tradition, spirituality, and hierarchy in equal measure. To understand their daily existence, one must first see how society itself was structured, because life for a noble was drastically different than life for a farmer or laborer, and yet each role was woven tightly into the fabric of Maya survival. At the very top of society was the king, known as the Kohel Ajor, considered both a political ruler and a sacred figure who carried divine authority. The king's role was to mediate between the gods and the people, conducting rituals, leading wars, and ensuring that the balance of the cosmos remained intact. Beneath the king were nobles who often held administrative or priestly roles, responsible for maintaining order, guiding religious ceremonies, and organizing large construction projects such as temples and palaces. Beneath the nobility were the commoners, who formed the vast majority of the population. Farmers were the backbone of Maya society, cultivating maize, beans, squash, and chili peppers, foods that sustained not only daily meals but also the spiritual identity of the Maya. Maize in particular was seen as a sacred crop, believed to be the very substance from which humanity was created, according to Maya mythology. The farmer's life was grueling, often beginning before sunrise with preparation of tools and tending to fields that were cleared from dense jungle through the slash and burn technique. Men labored in the fields while women managed the household, grinding maize into masa for tortillas, weaving intricate textiles, and raising children who were expected from a young age to contribute to family duties. Life in Maya cities contrasted with that in rural villages. In urban centers such as Tikal, Palenque, or Copan, artisans and merchants created the bustling heart of society. Skilled craftsmen carved elaborate stela, painted ceramics with scenes of courtly life, and constructed masks from jade, while merchants carried obsidian, cacao, feathers, and salt across trade networks that extended far beyond the Maya lowlands. Markets were social as much as economic spaces, where people bartered and exchanged goods, but also stories, news, and information that helped connect distant communities into a shared cultural identity. Religion permeated daily existence in ways both subtle and profound. The Maya believed that every aspect of life was influenced by a sacred calendar, a combination of the 260-day ritual cycle and the 365-day solar calendar. Days were considered auspicious or dangerous, guiding decisions such as when to plant crops, when to marry, and when to embark on journeys. Priests, highly trained in interpreting these calendars, held immense influence as they guided both rulers and commoners alike. Ordinary families often kept small household shrines, making offerings of food, incense, and blood to maintain harmony with the spirits and ancestors. Even children participated in these rituals, sometimes through small bloodletting ceremonies that demonstrated devotion to the gods. Housing reflected social divisions clearly. Nobles lived in stone houses near ceremonial centers, decorated with plaster and sometimes painted with murals that displayed myths or family lineages. Commoners, on the other hand, lived in modest thatched roof homes built from wood and mud, arranged in small clusters around shared courtyards where daily activities unfolded. These homes were functional, with hammocks for sleeping and open hearths for cooking, but they were also spaces of storytelling, teaching, and passing down traditions. The role of family and kinship was central to Maya life. Extended families often lived close to one another, bound by obligations of work, ritual, and loyalty. Marriages were usually arranged, not just for love, but for strengthening alliances and ensuring survival, and each union was marked with rituals that tied the couple not only to each other, but to the gods. Children were taught the values of respect, obedience, and labor from an early age, and their destinies were often influenced by their family's position in the social order. Sons of nobles were educated in writing, astronomy, and warfare, preparing them for leadership roles, while daughters were trained in weaving and domestic arts that carried both practical and symbolic weight. Health and medicine were another critical dimension of daily life. Healers, often respected as both doctors and shamans, used a mix of herbal remedies, spiritual rituals, and divination to treat illnesses. Diseases were believed to have both physical and supernatural causes, meaning treatment involved balancing the body as well as the soul. Common ingredients like cacao, chili, and honey were used in medicines, while rituals with incense, chanting, and offerings aimed to appease the spirits that might have caused harm. The Maya also practiced dental modifications, inlaying teeth with jade or filing them into specific shapes, not only as a form of beauty, but as a symbol of status and spiritual identity. Education was informal for most children, based on imitation and participation in family tasks, but formal schooling existed for those of noble blood. Scribes, who were among the most respected members of Maya society, were trained from youth in hieroglyphic writing, mathematics, and astronomy. These skills allowed them to record dynastic histories, inscribe monumental architecture, and predict celestial events with astonishing accuracy. Their knowledge was guarded closely, passed down carefully within families or select groups, reinforcing the exclusivity of elite education. Work and leisure balanced the rhythms of life. While much of the day was consumed by farming, building, or crafting, the Maya also valued games and communal gatherings. The ball game, played in large stone courts, was both entertainment and sacred ritual, symbolizing cosmic struggles between life and death, day and night, gods and mortals. Players used rubber balls, striking them with hips, knees, or elbows, and while some games were celebratory, others carried heavy spiritual stakes, with the losers sometimes facing sacrifice. Music, dance, and feasting accompanied festivals, binding the community together through joy as much as through duty. Gender roles shaped responsibilities, yet both men and women held vital places within the Maya worldview. Men were hunters, warriors, and farmers, while women carried the knowledge of food preparation, textile weaving, and household rituals that were considered essential for maintaining balance. Women of noble status sometimes wielded political influence, ruling in their own right or acting as regents for young heirs, demonstrating that power, though male-dominated, was not exclusively male. Justice and law were enforced through a system overseen by local leaders and nobles. Crimes such as theft, adultery, or murder were taken seriously, with punishments ranging from fines and enslavement to execution, depending on the severity and the social status of those involved. Community obligations ensured that disputes were often settled within local groups, reinforcing the idea that each person's behavior affected not just themselves, but the balance of the whole society. Underlying all of this was a constant awareness of time and cycles. The Maya saw themselves as living within repeating patterns, where birth, death, harvest, and decay were not linear events but part of an eternal rhythm. This worldview shaped every action, from planting crops to honoring ancestors, and it gave meaning to the hardships of daily labor. In a society where survival depended on cooperation, balance, and ritual precision, each individual's role, whether ruler, farmer, artisan, or child, was both ordinary and sacred, bound together by a belief that their lives mirrored the cosmic order itself. The rituals of love and marriage in the world of the ancient Maya were deeply intertwined with tradition, cosmology, and the preservation of social order, forming a fabric that bound not only two individuals but entire families and communities together. Love, in the romantic sense, certainly existed, but it was not always the central factor in the formation of unions. Instead, marriage was regarded as a sacred duty, a contract negotiated between families, and an event laden with ritual and meaning that reflected the importance of harmony between people and the gods. For the Maya, human relationships were never purely personal. They were connected to the cycles of time, the balance of the cosmos, and the expectations of one's social role. The process of arranging a marriage began with the involvement of families, particularly elders and go-betweens, known as matchmakers. These intermediaries were highly respected figures who guided negotiations between families, ensuring that alliances were beneficial, harmonious, and conducted according to tradition. Families consulted with priests and diviners to determine the most auspicious time for a union, since the Maya calendar was believed to influence the fate of marriages. Certain days were considered lucky for forming partnerships, while others were thought to bring discord, infertility, or tragedy. This careful calculation reflected the Maya belief that destiny was written in the patterns of time, and that human life could only flourish when aligned with cosmic order. Marriage negotiations also considered social class and status. Nobles often married within their own rank or sought unions that strengthened political ties between lineages, ensuring that wealth, prestige, and influence were consolidated. For commoners, marriage was more practical, centered around securing cooperation in farming, trade, or artisan work, but it was still carried out with ritual formality and community recognition. Divorce was rare and frowned upon, not only because of societal expectations, but also because a broken marriage was thought to disrupt the spiritual balance established through ritual vows. The rituals themselves began well before the wedding day. Preparations often included offerings to deities, ancestral spirits, and household gods. The homes of the bride and groom were cleansed and blessed with incense, while food, drink, and gifts were prepared for the community celebration. On the chosen day, the couple's families gathered to witness the joining of two households, a symbolic act that carried implications beyond the personal lives of the bride and groom. Fire played a central role in the ceremony, as flames symbolized continuity, transformation, and divine witness. A new hearth was often lit to represent the beginning of the couple's shared life, with offerings placed into the fire to seek blessings from the gods. One of the most distinctive features of Maya marriage rituals was the importance of food and drink. Cacao, a sacred plant associated with life, fertility, and the gods, was often consumed as part of the ceremony. Drinking cacao together symbolized unity, fertility, and shared destiny. Maize, the staple and sacred crop of the Maya, was also central to wedding rituals, with the grinding of maize by women symbolizing the role of nourishment, continuity, and domestic responsibility. Meals were shared by both families, reinforcing the idea that marriage was not just about two individuals, but about creating lasting bonds between kin groups. The symbolic binding of the couple was another essential aspect. In many ceremonies, a cord was tied around the bride and groom's hands, signifying their union and commitment before the gods and the community. This act was not seen as a mere contract, but as a spiritual covenant, one that placed the couple under the guardianship of divine forces. Blood offerings, often through small cuts or piercings, could also be part of the ritual, signifying the sharing of life essence and devotion to the gods. These bloodletting practices tied the union to the wider Maya worldview in which blood was the most sacred substance, capable of feeding the gods and maintaining cosmic balance. Roles within marriage were defined but complementary. Men were expected to provide sustenance through farming, hunting, or trade, while women took on responsibilities of weaving, cooking, and maintaining the household. However, these roles were not viewed as unequal, but as complementary halves of a whole, reflecting the Maya belief in duality that permeated their cosmology, the balance of sun and moon, day and night, male and female. In noble families, women often had greater visibility, sometimes managing estates, influencing politics, or serving as important figures in religious ceremonies, while men fulfilled duties as rulers, warriors, or scribes. Marriage ceremonies were community-centered events that involved not only family members, but also neighbors, elders, and local leaders. The presence of the community was essential because the union was seen as part of a collective effort to maintain harmony and balance within the village or city. Festivities included music, drumming, dancing, and feasting, with participants celebrating the joining of two families and the continuity of society. Marriage was therefore not simply a private affair, but a public declaration of shared responsibility and commitment to the larger community. Children born from these unions were considered gifts from the gods, and their conception and upbringing were framed within spiritual and ritual contexts. Fertility rituals often accompanied marriage ceremonies, invoking deities such as Xchel, the goddess of childbirth, fertility, and weaving. Couples made offerings to seek blessings for healthy children, strong harvests, and long lives together. The family unit, reinforced by these rituals, was the core of Maya society, ensuring the survival of traditions, labor, and devotion to the gods. For nobles, marriage sometimes took on a larger political dimension. Rulers often entered into strategic marriages to forge alliances, secure peace treaties, or strengthen claims to power. These unions were recorded in inscriptions and celebrated in monumental art, emphasizing their significance not just as personal events, but as pivotal moments in the history of city-states. Women from noble families played important roles in these alliances, sometimes acting as diplomats or priestesses who reinforced ties between regions. Among commoners, love and attraction did play a role, though it was always balanced with familial and societal expectations. Courtship could include exchanges of gifts, songs, and shared labor, but ultimately, marriages were arranged and overseen by elders who valued stability and tradition over individual desire. Yet, within these arranged unions, affection and partnership often grew naturally, nurtured by shared responsibilities and the daily rhythm of life. Romantic bonds were expressed in poetry, song, and artwork, showing that even within the structure of ritual, human emotions found their place. The Maya also practiced symbolic acts of renewal within marriage. Couples might reaffirm their vows during major festivals or after significant life events, such as the birth of children or the dedication of a home. These reaffirmations highlighted the belief that marriage was not a static agreement, but a living relationship that required continual nourishment through ritual, respect, and devotion. The Maya worldview tied human unions to cosmic dualities, and this philosophy infused marriage with profound spiritual weight. Just as the gods required balance and harmony to sustain the cosmos, so too did humans need to mirror these values in their relationships. Every marriage was therefore a reflection of the universe itself, a small but powerful enactment of cosmic unity played out within the domestic sphere. In daily life, the rituals of marriage extended beyond the wedding day. Household altars were maintained with offerings, prayers, and incense, reminding couples of their obligations not only to each other, but also to the gods. Festivals and community events reinforced bonds between families, while the cyclical rhythm of the calendar reminded people of their place within time's unfolding pattern. Through marriage, individuals found not only companionship but also a structured role within society, a path toward fulfilling both practical and spiritual responsibilities. The rituals of love and marriage were therefore not mere customs, but essential practices that wove individuals into the grander tapestry of Maya civilization, sustaining the balance of family, society, and the cosmos through acts of devotion, duty, and shared humanity. The survival of the ancient Maya was built on a foundation of science, innovation, and a profound relationship with the natural world, a relationship that allowed their civilization to flourish for thousands of years in an environment that could often be unpredictable and unforgiving. At the core of their survival was agriculture, for the Maya understood that sustaining large populations and grand cities required not only food, but also a system of knowledge that connected farming to cycles of time, astronomy, and spiritual beliefs. Their survival was not merely about producing crops, but about integrating human labor, divine order, and environmental adaptation into a single framework that guided everyday life. Maize, beans, and squash formed the basis of the Maya diet, often referred to as the Three Sisters, since they were cultivated together in ways that benefited the soil and balanced nutrition. Maize was the staple, both materially and spiritually, as Maya mythology declared that humans themselves were created from maize dough by the gods. Farmers grew maize using techniques that adapted to the various terrains of the Maya world, from the limestone lowlands to the mountainous highlands. The slash and burn method, known as swidden agriculture, was one of the most common practices, in which fields were cleared, vegetation was burned, and ash enriched the soil for planting. While effective in producing yields, this method required rotation and long fallow periods, so farmers had to manage land carefully, often working in cooperation with their extended families and communities to ensure that fields did not become exhausted. Beyond slash and burn, the Maya also developed highly sophisticated agricultural systems to cope with environmental challenges. In the swampy lowlands, they constructed raised fields, building platforms above waterlogged ground and using canals to control irrigation. These systems not only drained excess water, but also allowed nutrient-rich sediments to fertilize the crops. In hilly or mountainous regions, terraces were carved into slopes, preventing erosion and maximizing arable land. In areas with scarce water, reservoirs and artificial ponds were created to capture rain, ensuring that communities could withstand dry seasons. The ingenuity of these methods reflected the Maya's ability to observe and adapt to their environment with remarkable precision. Survival was closely tied to an intimate understanding of the sky. The Maya studied celestial movements with a level of accuracy that astonished even modern scholars, and they used this knowledge to determine the most favorable times for planting, harvesting, and conducting rituals to ensure agricultural success. The rising of Venus, the cycles of the moon, and the path of the sun were not abstract observations, but practical guides that structured the farming calendar. The Maya believed that the gods revealed their will through the heavens, and so priests and astronomers became vital figures in ensuring the survival of the people by aligning human activity with cosmic order. Their calendar system, combining the 260-day ritual cycle and the 365-day solar year, allowed them to plan not only rituals but also agricultural tasks with incredible precision. Water management was another crucial element of survival. The Maya lived in regions where rainfall was seasonal and rivers were not always accessible, so they engineered solutions that allowed them to thrive. In cities such as Tikal, vast reservoirs were built to collect and store rainwater, often lined with plaster to prevent seepage. In other areas, underground cisterns called chultans were carved into limestone bedrock, providing storage for both drinking water and irrigation. These reservoirs were sometimes connected to channels that carried runoff from plazas, temples, and rooftops, demonstrating an advanced understanding of hydraulic engineering. By controlling water in this way, the Maya ensured that their cities could support large populations even in times of drought. Diet was diversified beyond the staples of maize, beans, and squash. The Maya cultivated chili peppers, tomatoes, cacao, and avocados, while also relying on hunting, fishing, and foraging to supplement their meals. Deer, peccary, turkeys, and rabbits provided meat, while wild fruits, honey, and roots added variety. Cacao held a special place, not only as food but also as currency and a ritual substance associated with fertility, trade, and the gods. Fish and turtles were common in riverine and coastal communities, while salt, harvested from evaporation ponds or coastal flats, became a vital trade commodity that sustained both health and economy. Such diversity in food sources made survival more resilient, as reliance was not placed on a single crop alone, but on a carefully balanced system of production and exchange. Trade networks extended survival beyond local resources, weaving together the lowlands, highlands, and coastal regions into a complex web of exchange. Obsidian from the volcanic highlands provided tools and weapons. Jade symbolized wealth and divine power, while feathers from tropical birds, such as the quetzal, were treasured for ritual attire. Salt, cacao, cotton, and pottery moved along these trade routes, ensuring that no community was entirely isolated. Canoes plied the rivers and coasts, while overland paths connected distant regions. This system of exchange not only provided material necessities but also fostered cultural cohesion, as ideas, rituals, and innovations traveled alongside goods, strengthening the survival of the civilization as a whole. Survival was also spiritual, for the Maya did not separate material sustenance from divine favor. Every agricultural activity was accompanied by rituals that sought the blessing of the gods. Planting maize was not only a physical act, but also a sacred one, with prayers, offerings, and bloodletting performed to ensure fertility and abundance. Priests and shamans acted as mediators between the human world and the divine, conducting ceremonies to appease rain gods like Chak and maize deities who represented the cycle of growth and renewal. When droughts or crop failures threatened survival, large-scale rituals were performed, sometimes involving sacrifices, to restore balance and favor from the supernatural realm. Architecture itself reflected strategies of survival. Temples and palaces were not just symbols of power, but also functional spaces that reinforced social cohesion and religious order. By constructing monumental centers, the Maya created hubs of population where resources could be redistributed, rituals performed, and trade managed. Plazas and ball courts served as communal spaces where festivals reinforced unity, ensuring that communities worked together in times of hardship. The organization of cities around central ceremonial complexes revealed the importance of survival through collective effort, guided by rulers who claimed divine mandate to ensure prosperity. Knowledge of medicine contributed to survival as well. Maya healers employed a wide range of plants and herbs, many of which had real pharmacological effects. Leaves, roots, and barks were brewed into teas, or applied as poultices, while rituals and incantations sought to address the spiritual dimension of illness. The Maya recognized the importance of hygiene, using steam baths known as temazcals for purification, healing, and relaxation. These practices not only aided physical health, but also reinforced social and spiritual well-being, keeping the community strong and resilient. Warfare also played a role in survival, as competition for land, water, and resources sometimes brought conflict between city-states. While destructive, warfare also ensured that powerful cities could secure tribute, labor, and goods necessary for their continued prosperity. Captives taken in battle were often sacrificed, their blood offered to the gods to maintain cosmic balance, further illustrating the connection between survival, violence, and religion. Yet warfare also spurred innovation, as cities fortified themselves, refined weapons, and organized armies, strategies that contributed indirectly to survival by strengthening political and military resilience. Population growth and urban density created challenges that required careful management. As cities expanded, demands on land and water increased, forcing the Maya to develop even more efficient agricultural and hydraulic systems. Environmental pressures, such as deforestation and drought, tested their capacity to adapt. Archaeological evidence suggests that the Maya responded to these pressures with ingenuity, altering their methods of farming, relocating populations, and adjusting trade routes. Survival was never static but required continual adaptation, innovation, and resilience in the face of shifting conditions. The Maya worldview reinforced this adaptability by emphasizing cycles rather than permanence. Droughts, famines, and hardships were seen not as permanent failures, but as part of cosmic rhythms that could be corrected through ritual, effort, and alignment with divine forces. This belief allowed communities to endure challenges with patience and faith, reinforcing the social structures that kept them united. Survival, therefore, was not just a matter of physical sustenance, but of mental and spiritual resilience. A shared understanding that the community's fate was tied to both human action and divine will. Education and the transmission of knowledge ensured that survival strategies were preserved across generations. Farmers passed down techniques of cultivation, builders trained apprentices in architecture and engineering, and priests taught scribes the complex systems of writing, mathematics, and astronomy. By embedding survival knowledge within tradition and ritual, the Maya ensured that essential skills were not lost, but perpetuated as sacred duties. This intergenerational continuity was vital, allowing the civilization to thrive across centuries, despite changing environmental and political landscapes. In all of these ways, the survival of the ancient Maya was the product of both practical ingenuity and spiritual conviction. Their ability to farm, trade, manage water, and heal the sick was inseparable from their devotion to the gods, their careful observation of time, and their communal efforts to maintain balance. Through science, ritual, and cooperation, the Maya forged a civilization that endured for millennia, adapting continually to the demands of their environment and the challenges of fate, shaping a legacy of survival that remains etched in the ruins and traditions they left behind. The hidden secrets in Maya ruins are not only physical remains of a once flourishing civilization, but also silent storytellers of a world that combined spirituality, politics, and daily life in ways that remain fascinating to modern eyes. Every stone structure, carved inscription, and buried artifact carries within it layers of meaning, waiting to be uncovered through careful study. To walk among the ruins of great Maya cities such as Tikal, Palenque, Copan, or Chichen Itza is to enter a landscape where secrets of architecture, astronomy, ritual, and power are interwoven in stone and earth. These ruins are not merely abandoned cities, but repositories of knowledge that reveal how the Maya understood their world, structured their society, and related to the cosmos. One of the most striking secrets lies in the very layout of Maya cities. Unlike modern cities, designed for efficiency or expansion, Maya urban centers were planned with spiritual and astronomical considerations at their core. Temples, palaces, and ball courts were often aligned with celestial events, such as the rising and setting of the sun during solstices or the movements of Venus. At Chichen Itza, the Pyramid of Kukulkan is a prime example of this connection, as during the equinoxes, the setting sun casts a series of triangular shadows that appear like a serpent slithering down the steps of the pyramid, symbolizing the descent of the feathered serpent god. This architectural mastery was not accidental, but a deliberate act of embedding cosmic cycles into stone, allowing the ruins themselves to act as living calendars and ritual instruments. Beneath the surface of these ruins lie even more secrets. Many Maya sites contain vast networks of underground chambers, reservoirs, and cenotes that held both practical and spiritual significance. Cenotes, natural sinkholes filled with water, were regarded as sacred gateways to the underworld, known as Cybalba, and were used for offerings, rituals, and sometimes human sacrifices. Excavations of cenotes at Chichen Itza have revealed objects such as jade ornaments, gold pottery, and human remains, suggesting that these waters served as portals where the Maya sought to communicate with gods and ancestors. In this way, the ruins conceal not only structures above ground, but entire hidden worlds beneath the earth, mirroring the Maya belief in layered realms of existence. The carved stelae and inscriptions found in ruins reveal another layer of secrets, offering glimpses into dynasties, battles, and cosmic events. Maya writing, a complex system of hieroglyphs combining logograms and syllabic signs, recorded not only royal achievements but also astronomical observations, rituals, and myths. At Copan, for instance, the hieroglyphic stairway contains the longest known Maya text, inscribed with over 2,000 glyphs recounting centuries of dynastic history. These texts provide scholars with a window into the ambitions, rivalries, and struggles of rulers, as well as the cosmic frameworks that justified their power. Yet many inscriptions remain only partially deciphered, leaving mysteries still hidden in stone. The ruins also reveal secrets of artistry and symbolism. Murals discovered in sites like Bonampak display vivid scenes of court life, battles, and rituals, with figures adorned in elaborate costumes and headdresses. These murals challenge earlier assumptions that the Maya were a purely peaceful society, instead revealing the prevalence of warfare and sacrifice in their culture. Painted ceramics, often buried in tombs, depict gods, myths, and daily life, their intricate designs acting as both art and narrative. Jade masks, shell ornaments, and obsidian blades found in graves highlight the symbolic power of materials, each chosen not only for beauty, but for its spiritual resonance. Another hidden secret lies in the remains of the Great Ball courts that appear in many Maya cities. These courts were not only arenas for sport, but also sacred spaces where cosmic battles were reenacted through ritualized play. The game symbolized the struggle between life and death, day and night, and order and chaos, with the ball representing the sun moving across the sky. In some cases, the outcome of the game carried spiritual consequences, with players or captives sacrificed to honor the gods. The ruins of these courts, with their sloping walls and carved markers, whisper of rituals that blurred the line between sport and sacred duty, embedding cosmic meaning into human activity. The architecture of Maya ruins itself conceals secrets about social and political structures. Palaces with multiple rooms, courtyards, and vaulted ceilings suggest the complexity of noble life, where rulers and their courts lived in spaces designed to project power and manage affairs. Temples towering above plazas symbolized the central role of religion and the authority of rulers as mediators between gods and people. Even the orientation of plazas and causeways reflected social order, guiding the flow of ceremonies and daily activities in ways that reinforced hierarchy. The grandeur of these ruins tells us that survival for the Maya was not merely about subsistence, but about creating environments that expressed cosmic harmony and human ambition. Beneath the surface of these grand constructions, archaeologists have uncovered offerings, caches, and hidden chambers that deepen the mystery of Maya ruins. Buried beneath temple floors or inside pyramids, offerings of pottery, obsidian blades, shells, and figurines were left as gifts to the gods. In some cases, rulers were buried with extraordinary wealth, such as jade jewelry, painted ceramics, and carved bone, symbolizing their journey into the afterlife and their continued role as intercessors for their people. Tombs such as the one discovered in the Temple of the Inscriptions at Palenque, where the ruler Pakal was entombed, demonstrate the Maya belief in the eternal connection between rulers and cosmic order, embedding political power into the very stones of their monuments. Secrets also emerge in the evidence of collapse and abandonment. Many Maya cities were deserted centuries before the arrival of the Spanish, leaving behind ruins overtaken by jungle, The reasons for this decline remain debated, with theories ranging from environmental degradation and drought to warfare and internal strife. The ruins, with their unfinished structures, toppled monuments, and layers of habitation, bear silent witness to the struggles of a civilization that faced immense challenges. These abandoned sites remind us that beneath the grandeur of Maya achievements lay vulnerabilities and uncertainties that remain only partly understood. Inscriptions also hold secrets of time and prophecy. The Maya calendar system, recorded on monuments, codices, and artifacts, reflected a deep understanding of cycles and endings. The so-called undate of 2012, derived from the Maya long count calendar, drew worldwide attention. Though for the Maya it represented not an apocalypse, but the completion of a cycle and the beginning of another. Such inscriptions reveal the way the Maya understood time as cyclical, with each era carrying its own significance. The ruins, through these inscriptions, carry messages across millennia, preserving the Maya vision of history, destiny, and cosmic renewal. Another hidden aspect of Maya ruins is their connection to sound and acoustics. Some structures were deliberately designed to amplify or reflect sound in ways that enhanced rituals. At Chichen Itza, clapping in front of the pyramid of Kukulkan produces an echo that resembles the call of the sacred Quetzal bird, a phenomenon likely intended to invoke divine presence during ceremonies. In ball courts, voices carried across the playing field, allowing ritual chants to resonate through the crowd. These acoustic secrets remind us that Maya architecture was not only visual but sensory, engaging participants through sound, movement, and atmosphere. Environmental secrets are also locked within the ruins. Pollen analysis from soils near temples and reservoirs reveals changes in vegetation and agricultural practices over centuries, offering clues about how the Maya adapted to or struggled with their environment. Layers of sediment in reservoirs carry traces of droughts, fires, and human activity, showing that these ruins are more than stone. They are archives of environmental history. By studying these hidden records, scholars can piece together how the Maya responded to climate challenges, deforestation, and shifting ecological conditions. The ruins also preserve the secrets of common people, though less visibly than those of rulers and elites. Excavations of household compounds reveal grinding stones, cooking hearths, and simple pottery, offering glimpses into the daily lives of farmers, artisans, and laborers who sustained the grandeur of cities. While monumental temples proclaim the power of kings, the modest ruins of homes whisper of ordinary lives, of women grinding maize, children learning skills, and families maintaining traditions that ensured survival. These less dramatic, but equally vital ruins tell the story of resilience, labor, and community that underpin Maya civilization. Modern discoveries continue to reveal hidden aspects of these ruins. Technologies such as LiDAR, which uses lasers to map landscapes beneath jungle canopies, have uncovered vast networks of roads, terraces, and settlements previously unknown. These findings show that Maya civilization was even larger and more interconnected than once thought, with hidden cities and infrastructures lying beneath dense forests. Each discovery adds another layer to the secrets held within the ruins, reshaping our understanding of the scale, complexity, and ingenuity of the Maya. The hidden secrets in Maya ruins are therefore not limited to what is seen in stone monuments or carvings, but extend to underground chambers, buried offerings, inscriptions of time, and even the way sound and environment were manipulated. They are the remnants of a civilization that sought to weave together the material and spiritual, the earthly and cosmic, the visible and invisible, into every aspect of life. To uncover these ruins is to uncover fragments of a worldview where nothing was ordinary, where every act and structure was infused with meaning, and where the secrets of existence were preserved in stone, awaiting discovery by those who came after.